This is a special edition of WeatherScope, comprehensive severe weather coverage from the Weather Channel.
Good afternoon from the Weather Channel Forecast Center. A strong tropical storm Josephine continues to move very quickly towards the northeast corner of the Gulf of Mexico this afternoon. Alongside the Weather Channel's hurricane specialist John Hope. We'll be talking to John specifically in just a couple of minutes. But first, I want to give you the latest information. The coordinates as of 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time, about 110 miles southwest of Apalachicola, centered near 28.3 north, 85.9 west, with maximum sustained winds at 70 miles an hour. So not too far away from being a minimal hurricane in terms of the maximum sustained winds. Northeast bound at 23 miles per hour, and the pressure at 983 millibars. On the visible satellite image, you can see a cluster of storms down to the south and east. Also a big cluster of storms to the north of the center, which is located right about in here. Right now, though, as we head up into this zone, that's where Cross City, Florida is located. And it's also where our own Bill Keneally is on location. And Bill, we understand that this morning, or at least earlier today, you took a ride down to the coast around Horseshoe Beach. Can you go ahead and give us perhaps some information on what that ride was like?
Yes, I can, Declan. By the way, we're about 150 miles north of where we were earlier today, down around the Dunedin area, and we worked our way north on U.S. Highway 19. And outside of a lot of heavy rainfall, we did not see a whole lot of wind, so we decided to take a chance, and we took a ride down Route 351, and we took a ride down into the Horseshoe Beach area. And as you'll see in these pictures, yes, we had an awful lot of rainfall. We did not see that much in the way of onshore wind, however. So because of that, we did not see a lot of high water. Now remember, the tide is coming in around midnight tonight. You can see some of, there's actually a house on stilts which is in the shape of a boat. They're still putting that together, and they're trying to shore up that for tonight. But once again, the water at that time, as you can see, was not all that high. Okay, and Declan, by the way, we're now panning the roadway out front here, and you can see there's an awful lot of water. This is all rainwater, obviously. We're about 18 miles inland, so this is not tidal flooding, but we estimate several inches of rain have occurred today. Right now we're getting a fairly heavy shower, but believe me, it's been a whole lot heavier earlier today. But as far as the tidal flooding goes, that is still going to be a big concern. Back in March of 1993, that storm actually came on through and brought water about 2 to 2.5 miles in from the waterfront. And because of that, we do not want to risk it, and we are not going down there. From here on out, if anything, that water is going to come up, and come up pretty fast this evening.
Bill, has that been pretty well evacuated down there then at Horseshoe Beach?
John, it is starting to get that way. They issued the evacuation order about 1:30 this afternoon, and people started to file out of there, but they were doing a lot of shoring up of the residences. Now, a lot of the houses down there are on stilts, so they do not want to leave housing, as far as cars at least, in the garages or in the underhead areas. So they were pulling that out and also moving a lot of the furniture and appliances, if they could, up to the second floor. But there are still some people down there.
They have a deadline on when they're supposed to leave?
John, not really a true deadline, but the evacuation center, the actual shelter at the elementary school, opened up at 1:45 today. They let the kids out about an hour earlier, and they were strongly emphasizing people to move, and move fast at that time. But still, with an east wind, the water is not coming in, so that's going to be critical. Hopefully this thing will actually pass very close overhead, and if that's the case, then we won't get that push of water. But I'd say farther south, down around, say, Homosassa Springs and over by the areas near Yankeetown, they could have an awful lot of water coming in.
Okay, again, that's the Weather Channel's Bill Keneally in Cross City, Florida, in the northwest part of the state, and we'll be joining Bill later on this afternoon. John, one of the things we've noticed, Bill mentioned the heavier rain earlier today, then a let-up, and then perhaps some more heavier rain pushing in. Let's look at a satellite view, colorized imagery, and talk about that typical tropical on-and-off rain banding.
Well, I think there is lots more rain moving in. You can see that around the core of the hurricane now, some very heavy rain, and that's spreading to the east. Some of the very heaviest part there might be a little north of where he is, but no, I think Cross City is pretty well in line to get a lot of that.
And also, one of the big concerns is not only tidal flooding, but some of the inland flooding that'll be caused by the exceptionally heavy rain. There are hurricane warnings in effect from Apalachicola all the way south to Incl. And John, also quite a large area actually covered by the current tropical storm warning.
Right, and up the east coast there, all the way up to Little River Inlet. Now, we're pretty confident that we were concerned lest this be a hurricane by the time it makes landfall. But if it does become one, it's barely going to be a hurricane. But once the center comes in Florida, then up the east coast, that won't get back, we don't think, to hurricane strength. So it's definitely going to be just a tropical storm that we're dealing with up there.
And speaking of the landfall, the greatest strike probability, as you can see outlined in the deep shade of red, pointing right towards Appalachia Bay. And John, we may actually get a little bit of benefit here since the storm is moving fairly quickly. Perhaps we won't have that doubling effect from both the high tide and the arrival of the storm surge.
That's right. It looks like the center should be in there before the high tide comes in, but it's going to be mainly wind-driven water there that we're concerned about. And again, it's going to be to the right, or to the southeast in this case, of where the center comes ashore. Looks like somewhere near around St. Mark's or a little bit east of there is be where the center comes in, and anything to the south of that, south and east of there is going to get the highest storm surge.
So lots of wind, heavy rain. Take a look at the latest radar across Florida, and you can see the rain shield stretches all the way up into central and northern Georgia. This is a system like most tropical systems that as it moves north could cause quite a bit of flooding, and of course that potential for tornadic thunderstorms, John. A problem with these tornadoes embedded within the tropical systems is that they can come down with virtually no notice whatsoever.
Now, it's sort of hard to pick them out, you know, if they're anywhere near where all the heavy rain is, or they don't have as good a radar signature as we'd like to see sometimes. So they can occur most anywhere. So far we haven't had reports of too many, but there have been some, and I'm afraid there will be more.
All right, well, thanks a lot, John. And again, we'll keep you updated on tropical storm, strong tropical storm Josephine, as it moves towards the northeast corner of the Gulf of Mexico over the next 12 to 18 hours. Right now, we'll turn it over to Dennis Smith. He has a look at your forecast.
Thank you so much, Declan and John, as we continue to keep a close eye on Josephine. And you can see what's going on elsewhere across the country. There's Josephine, and again, if you want the very latest information, it's about 110 miles south-southwest of Apalachicola with 70 miles an hour. Put it to a strong tropical storm, potentially, as Declan and John were just describing, could be a hurricane before it comes on board, moving northeast at 23. And the consideration of what time high tides are, it may pose a problem with the big onslaught of water coming in the Big Bend area. Another concern would be the potential of severe thunderstorms that could breed tornadoes. That's why a tornado watch is out for the entire, almost the entire peninsula of Florida, with the anticipation of those strong thunderstorms. The frictional effect of all that tropical moisture, all that energy coming together at one time could induce some thunderstorms producing tornadoes. We've had tornado reports in the last hour around Lake County, Central Florida, and West Central Florida, and Citrus County near Inverness. So be prepared for the possibility of that through the afternoon. Again, here's the snapshot view of what's happening at this hour. Let's see what happens to Josephine and this front as the two cards are played over the next 24